Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a second consecutive day of Miami Total Football Radio, the show.
Radio?
Yeah, I still call it radio because we still have to roll our R's. It's just the radio show now because some people only listen. As you guys can hear and as you guys can see, joining myself, Franco Panizo, here on this Inter Miami Focus podcast, which is a daily occurrence this week in the lead up to the MLS Cup Final, is none other than our beloved Simon Evans, aka Simon Dice, which translates to Simon Says. That's his nickname as of right now. I had a good one that came to my mind a couple weeks ago, and now it's completely slipped my memory. But we like Simon Dice for now. Simon, welcome back. It's been a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, a little while. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to MLS Cup Final. I think it's a really exciting game to contemplate. And yeah, it's been a good few weeks for Inter Miami, hasn't it? Been some entertaining games, lots of goals, and lots of things to give people optimism, I'm sure.
There's a lot of reason for optimism if you're Inter Miami heading into this one. For those of you wondering, Jose Armando should be joining us here at some point. I don't know if he's still crying over Honduras' failure to qualify for a third consecutive World Cup, but we'll give Jose a few more minutes to compose himself. Don't worry, guys. I have the yellow card here ready. He will be conditioned from the moment he steps onto the pitch. Boss Daddy 85 says, what a pleasant surprise. Amart 2121, sorry, Amart 2121 says, not gonna lie, I'm getting Leagues Cup Final nerves for this one. I don't like the Vancouver matchup. We will talk about that here. And like I said before, is the second episode of the week. Obviously, I did one yesterday. If you missed it, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're going to do one every day this week. There will be some overlapping themes, but the idea is to bring you something relatively different with each episode, especially once we get availability going. Vancouver Whitecaps had availability today, Simon. Inter Miami, none yet. They will on Wednesday with Ian Frey and Yannick Bright as part of a community event that they're having, but they'll be able to talk about the final. But the real meat and potatoes, the real good stuff won't happen or won't begin until Thursday. Press conferences, interviews at practice, etc. Carlos Moreno -XX1TZ says, love the business of soccer pod. Simon.
Thank you, Carlos. Very glad to hear that you're watching and enjoying that podcast or listening to it. Yeah, and I hope you've subscribed to the newsletter as well at thesoccerbusiness.com.
Plug it in, Simon. Plug it all. Plug it one, plug it all. Come one, come all. Ralph Lucanella.
All hail Allende. How times have changed, indeed.
Which we will talk about again a little bit later today. Sean Callahan 8080 says, what's with this resolution? Why are we tall, not wide? So Sean Callahan, you are probably on the other YouTube link. StreamYard has invented this thing for YouTube now where they have vertical videos and horizontal videos for, I guess, the people that consume videos in different fashion. So if you quickly click over or you look for the other link, you'll find it for the horizontal version. I've already figured out how to resolve this problem from next week on, but since I started the week having both and people apparently do tune into the vertical version, I'm going to stick with it. I know it causes for some confusion for the viewers, especially live.
It's weird. It's a weird thing to do.
Hey, listen, man, technology is ever changing. I'll keep it for the week and then we'll go from there. I'll probably do away with it. I know it does cause some confusion, but anyway. Simon, welcome back to Miami Total Football Radio, the show. Episode number 2 of the week, a very special week. It's Taco Tuesday, Tequila Tuesday. I don't know if you know this. Some movie theaters have big discounts on Tuesdays. You can go to movie theaters for like $5 or $6 on Tuesdays. So a nice little date you can take the missus on.
I didn't know that. No,
it is a thing. It is a thing. You can find a movie theater and they have $5-6 tickets, any time of the day. It's like a good way to promote business on a Tuesday for them. I have occasionally.
The things you learn on Miami Total Football Radio. Yeah.
There you go, man. We're a show of the people.
Top tips.
Yeah. Y'all can take your girlfriends, your wives, or your husbands, or your boyfriends, and they'll be like, "Thank you, wow, it's such a great surprise on a Tuesday." And little do they know, it only costs you $18.44. Simon, let's get to the soccer. Let's get to the football. And again, we are going to do a little bit different from what I touched on yesterday. Of course, again, feel free to touch on whatever you feel like. Get off your chest, your mind. I don't doubt that there will be overlapping topics, themes, things to discuss as we preview the game. But we do want to hear your vantage point, your voice, your opinions, your analysis. But we will start with, of course, Inter Miami hosting the Vancouver Whitecaps this Saturday afternoon at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. A rematch of that CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal series that you and I believe, talked about earlier this year on this show.
Yeah.
Teams are different now. Context is different.
Very.
Scenario is different. But let's begin with Inter Miami being the favorites in this one. Because not only do you have Lionel Messi on the team, you are at home. You finish with a better record in the regular season. That's why you're hosting MLS Cup. And you, of course, have come into this game with 3 consecutive 4-goal victories. There is no way anybody can say that Inter Miami is not the favorite going into this one. Do you agree with that? Is that right? Is that a fair assessment?
They are the favorites, but I think they're only slight favorites. I mean, I think that any team that has Messi in it is favorites in any game in MLS. So, end of story. Miami are the favorites. But I think if there is one team in MLS that is set up perfectly to be a threat to Inter Miami, it is Vancouver Whitecaps. It is. I mean, they did it home and away. I know it was a different Inter Miami then, but it was a very impressive way they did it, especially at Chase Stadium, that performance in what was 5-1 aggregate. It was the champions.
Might have been 5-2. Might have been 5-2.
Maybe it was 5-2. But it was a convincing victory at Chase and the home leg too. And I think they're a better team, and I think Inter Miami are a much better team than they were then. But yes, absolutely, Inter Miami are expected to win this game. But I think it's going to, I think it's really, really, going to be a close one. I don't see this being another 4-goal win. No way.
So let's begin with the topic of being the favorites for Inter Miami, because if they are the favorites, right, for some teams that carries a lot of weight, difficult for them to live up to it. Other teams, it's not a big deal. For this Inter Miami team, with the players it has, with the experience they have, and of course, talking about the Messi, Busquets, Jordi Alba, Rodrigo de Paul, Luis Suarez, likely off the bench. I mean, does the favorite role at all really impact them in any way, shape, or form in terms of not just pregame, but during the course of the game, being at home? Because let's say if it's 0-0 going into the 65th minute, starts to feel a little bit more nervous if you're the favorite at home. But does it really matter that much for this Inter Miami?
No, I don't think it does. Not for Inter Miami. Look, when have Inter Miami ever been the underdog in the Club World Cup, right? That was the only time they playing against Porto and Paris Saint-Germain and Palmeiras. They were the underdogs in those games. Every other game they've played this season, they've been the favorite. Every other one. Even if they're playing against a team like LAFC, they're still the team with Messi, Busquets, and Alba playing in Major League Soccer. They're used to that. They know what comes with it, the expectations and so on. And that's not going to be a factor at all, I don't think. For the Vancouver Whitecaps, they'll feel that they are the underdogs, but they'll also feel they're underdogs with a real chance. And that's a good place to be. When you have that status where, you know it's going to be a bit of a surprise if you do it, but you're capable of that surprise. It's a realistic goal. That's a good place to be.
Sean Callahan, 8080, says, we've been favorites all season. It means nothing.
Exactly.
Hedry Potter, free speech, who is our beloved viewer, loves watching us, says, meanwhile, the General Franco himself was saying that Cincy will knock out Inter Miami. CF, now he is flip-flopping and saying that they are favorites, LOL. So I will address Pedri Potter, but first I have to address Simon's squeal/giggle. That's why I'm laughing, because your giggle there got me going. Pedri Potter, listen, Pedri Potter. Before the Cincy game, I predicted Cincy to win, correct? But that's because I thought Luis Suarez was starting. I do want to leave it for tomorrow's show, but a big part in this switch that Inter Miami has flipped in the last 3 games has been because Luis Suarez has come out of the lineup and not been the regular starter that he is. But the first game that happened in was because Nashville SC reclamó. Nashville SC filed a complaint for Suarez to be benched. So this wasn't like Mascherano made this gutsy decision from the start. I don't know what to call it. Maybe, Simon, you could help me come up with the proper terminology here. I don't know. I don't want to call it good luck or good fortune, but clearly that complaint that led to his suspension, which led to a very good performance against Nashville SC, that changed the thought process of Javier Mascherano and Inter Miami. And since then, they've been firing on all cylinders. I don't know how to describe that moment. I don't want to say good luck. It's not good luck, but it clearly wasn't their own doing completely, right? There was outside factors that helped make that happen.
Look, I mean, if people thought that it was bad news for Suarez to be out of the team when he was banned, then you can describe it as a silver lining. Yeah, every cloud has a silver lining, and the cloud of Luis Suarez being left out gave them a silver lining. Let's give credit to Silvetti as well. It's not just a system change, right? He's come in there into that role. And yes, it's resulted in a system change of him and Allende playing in front of Messi and Inter Miami being able to go vertical much faster and exploit pace down the wings and everything else. It fell into his lap. It wasn't Mascherano's doing or tinkering. Yeah, that's true. It's true. I mean, credit to Mascherano for sticking with it, though, after that one game, though. I mean, it wouldn't have been a massive shock, even after that performance against Nashville, had he gone back to the previous status quo for the game against Cincinnati. And he didn't do. He stuck with it, and he stuck with it against New York City, and I'm sure he'll play in that formation in the final. So, I'd be shocked.
I would have loved to have been on the fly on the wall for the conversations that were had in Inter Miami's facility in the week leading up to that game against Cincinnati. Because it could not have just been as simple as Mascherano saying, all right, Suarez is going to the bench and Toto Silvetti is starting. I'm sure, and this is just my supposition, my sensation, that there were conversations had at higher levels to ensure that everybody was on the same page with this. Because if it was just as easy as saying, oh, okay, I just drop Suarez and I change up the formation and Toto Silvetti comes in, we probably would have seen something different, or we probably would have seen Suarez dropped from the lineup some point earlier this year. I imagine there was real conversations had. I don't know how difficult, but real conversations were probably had.
I mean, Mascherano's come out and said, hasn't he, that Suarez handled it well, and he's really pleased and respects the way that Suarez has handled it. And to be fair, he's been, he hasn't been sulking around the place, has he? As a substitute, he's looked involved, he's celebrated with the team and everything like that. I mean, I think a lot of that depends on what's happening with Suarez long term. I mean, it leads me to think that perhaps he isn't staying at the club. And that's an interesting one from Sean there. I would be shocked. I would be shocked.
I'd be shocked. There's no way he's
I would.
No way they go away from what they've been doing. I would be stunned if they went away from what they're doing.
But it's a bigger call if Suarez has quietly agreed.
Am I distracting you with the comments, Simon?
What's that about?
Hacker says, whoever said that, why are you making such a big deal? Stop spreading negativity. I said that was my sensation. I said that was my supposition from the outside. No, I'm not saying that's information. It's not information. It's
What?
my that there was probably conversations had behind closed doors.
I'm sure there were
about the
conversations. I mean, but they have to sit down with Suarez and make sure he's okay about it. But I think it does really, it indicates to me that perhaps he isn't going to be around next season. And if he is around next season, then it was an even bigger call by Mascherano to keep him out of the team, right? To keep him out of the team if he's still going to be part of the club. If he's going to come on with 15 minutes to go in the final and make his farewell appearance and go up to the supporters at the end and wave goodbye, then that makes it look a little bit of an easier decision to have taken. Here's Jose.
There he is. He's done. He's done crying over Honduras's failure to qualify for the World Cup. An automatic yellow card.
Yes, I deserve a yellow.
Field.
Yes,
automatic
I do deserve a yellow.
Condicionados del primer minuto. From this point forward,
I do deserve a yellow today. This is actually my first yellow in I don't know how long, but it is my first. So hi everybody.
Jose, how are you?
I'm good. I'm rushing. It feels like it's Thursday or Friday, and it's only Tuesday.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, I was.
Oh my God. It is going to be a long week, just so everybody knows. This is my first MLS Cup. You both guys are MLS Cup veterans. This is my first one, so I'm struggling still with, balancing everything around, trying to make some room for the end of the week so that I can settle down and just, relax and work on MLS Cup and nothing else. So crazy.
Kada Dadon says he was playing Call of Duty. So Jose, you have been outed, my friend.
I think that's on Thursday, isn't it? I don't think I'm going to get to Call of Duty until next week.
Jose, I just want your quick opinion on something that I asked Simon here at the beginning of the show. And said Inter Miami, I think, is clear favorites based on their form, Messi being at home, where they finished. Would you not agree with that? Do you think Vancouver's the favorite coming into Chase Stadium? I think even if it's by a smidge, I think Inter Miami has to be considered the favorite. For me, they're big time.
I wouldn't call them a clear favorite. I think Vancouver is a very good team. I think they don't have that fear anymore that many other teams had throughout this past couple of years about facing Inter Miami, because they've been here and they've been successful here. And I was listening to a press conference this afternoon, and players for Vancouver are relying a lot on that Champions Cup result here. They believe Inter Miami is not as different, which I disagree. In particular, without Luis Suarez, I think it's a very different team than what they faced early in the season. But I wouldn't call them a clear favorite. Yes, they are, but not a clear favorite.
Yeah, I said slight favorite. I think.
I think they are heavy favorites. Given their form, I think they're heavy favorites. And you have Messi. I mean, and you're playing at home.
There's no team better in MLS set up to beat Inter Miami than Vancouver Whitecaps. So you can't say they're heavy favorites, Franco. I
still think they're heavy favorites. Given the run of form, I still think they're heavy favorites to win. I'm not saying they're going to win by blowout. But
have you watched them in Vancouver? I mean, what they did in the first half against San Diego was very impressive.
Yeah, I'm not saying San Diego's a bad team and San Diego's Vancouver's a bad team, that Vancouver's going to get their doors blown off at Chase Stadium, but I do think Inter Miami is the heavy favorite to win, just because of all the factors. I agree with Simon with what Simon said earlier, and I've said it yesterday. I'll say it again. Jose, feel free to chime in. Vancouver on the counter can present a lot of problems for Inter Miami. In the attacking transitions for Vancouver, that's one of their strengths. We saw it in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal series. That was without Thomas Mueller, who now is in there to help filter passes and find other players and help pick out balls that other people wouldn't. So yes, this is a deadlier team. But I said yesterday, the only way I see Vancouver winning this game is if they do two things. One, they are impeccable with their attacking transitions against Inter Miami's high line. And two, they are ruthless, clinical, lethal, deadly in front of goal with their chances. If they are neither one of those things, I don't see them winning. I could see Inter Miami playing badly and winning with a Messi masterful performance. I can see that. I don't see that happening for Vancouver the other way.
Well, let's agree to disagree, I guess.
Okay, can I just can I get this out of the way, right? Because I have some thoughts about Vancouver, right, and why? Because I've said I think that they're set up to be the best team in MLS to be able to beat Miami, right? If you look at their two wide players, Ali Ahmed and Emmanuel Sabi, right? We've seen them in the previous games. They are very, very quick, fast, and direct wingers who are exceptional on the transition or on the counter-attack, right? And they're going to put real pressure on both fullbacks for Inter Miami. So Jordi Alba is going to have to defend properly. He's not going to be able to just play as a left winger. He's going to have to play as a left back. On the other side, you know, whoever it is that plays at right back, whether it's Cello or Ian Frey, are going to have their hands full with Ali Ahmed, right? And the difference is they've got those solid pair in midfield. Berhalter, who I think is in an exceptional run of form, and Kubas alongside him, who helps break things up. They're a really good solid two as a dual pivot there. And then the difference is, of course, Muller. Now, I've looked at Muller a little bit of late and wondering if he's possibly carrying a bit of an injury. He's been substituted out of games a few times. It might just be tiredness. But he plays between the lines. And I don't think Inter Miami have a natural player. It'll have to be Rodrigo De Paul, as we were saying off air, to pick up Muller, because he likes to operate between the lines and get in there and support Brian White, who I think is a very good centre forward, a very, very good MLS centre forward. He will score goals. He'll put away those chances to be. And the other factor to take into account with them as well is they're really good at set pieces. Berhalter delivers really good free kicks and corners, and I think there will be a threat from those as well. But the point is, the way they're set up is perfectly. The weak points of Inter Miami, we know they're not great against the counter-attack. We know they're not always good at defending in the wide areas. And the centre-backs up against the top-quality centre-forward who will take opportunities, and someone who brings in that element of movement and surprise like Muller, it's going to be a challenge for that defence. And as better as it's got, that defence, it still is the weak link of this Inter Miami side.
Yeah, 100%.
I would not call, me personally, I would not call Brian White a top-quality forward in MLS. I think he's a good definidor, a good finisher. Good. I think he's a good finisher of plays and things that happen around him, but I don't know if can he shoot from distance and find the top corner?
He doesn't need to.
Right, he's just a finisher, right? He's just someone.
There's nothing wrong with being just a finisher.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I wouldn't call him top. He wouldn't be in my top three of strikers in MLS if I was creating a team.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that. I didn't say he was
said top quality, man. You said top quality. Pedri Potter says Noah Allen's getting a red card and sabotaging Inter Miami in the final. You heard it here first. Look at that. Pedri Potter talking about spreading negativity, and then he comes in and says that. All right, Pedri Potter. Kettle meets the pot. Boss Daddy 85 says Mueller has a hamstring knock. They confirmed it. And that's something Simon and I were talking about off camera here. If Mueller's not 100%, that's obviously another plus in the column for Inter Miami, right? If you don't get,
but they're still a very good team.
Absolutely.
They can play without him, which is different than Inter Miami without Messi. Even though they've gotten a lot better now, playing without him, or not without him, but without being him the
focal point. Yeah,
right. So I think and I see what you're coming from, Franco, when you're saying they have to be clinical, they have to take advantage of opportunities. But I really think that goes for both ways, because if Inter Miami creates chances early on, which is something that we expect, they're playing at home, so we're expecting Inter Miami to be aggressive early on. But if they don't finish and they let Vancouver grow into the game, that can also go for Inter Miami, that they need to be clinical in front of goal. So I think it's a final, and it's going to be tight. For me, it's going to be tight. It's not going to be another 4-0, 3-0, 5-1. I don't see that happening again, unless it's something, that happens towards the end of the game. Maybe that's possible. But I expect a very tight game. I think it's going to be a good game. It's a good matchup overall. If you look at both teams,
it could be a high-scoring tie game, though, couldn't it?
They're very well balanced.
It could be a 3-2 or a 4-3 kind of high-scoring game. I agree. I don't expect to see one side destroy the other, but I think there could be plenty of goals.
Jose said something earlier that's interesting that I did want to touch on. That he said this is for us. We've been to a lot of MLS Cup finals. For Jose, this is his first one that he covers in person. Simon, how many have you been to? Do you have the number off the top of your head?
Not as many as you'd think, actually, but I don't know off the top of my head.
This will be my 11th MLS Cup. My first one.
I think that's more than me. Yeah,
but it's my first one since 2020. And it's also going to cap 6 seasons of not missing a single home game as a reporter in person at the stadium, at G Stadium, during Inter Miami's existence, which I'm the only media member to do that, and I will pat myself on the back for that. So,
and this is going to be your last ever MLS game at Chase Stadium.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. Switching gears, going back to the game, which I wanted to ask a question to both of you, and I want you to put your analytical hats on and think about it, because I didn't prepare you for this. How important is the first goal in this game, right? First goal is una obviedad, right? It's obvious. If you get the first goal, you have the advantage. But especially given their styles. I want you guys to think about it while I get the question out. Given their styles, given what they're probably going to look to do, how important is that first goal on Saturday? Because if Inter Miami is the one, like Jose said, that is looking to dictate the tempo with the ball, and Vancouver scores first, now you have to push forward more. You've got to you got to be more aggressive as the game goes on. That can play right into Vancouver's hands of looking to hit you in transition. Whereas if it's the other way, if Inter Miami scores first, Vancouver's got to come out of, I won't say their deep block or their shell, but they're going to have to take a more aggressive approach than just trying to transition. How important is the first goal? Simon's shaking his head no. Jose was kind of saying maybe yes. So we will start with Jose because he's been a man of few words so far due to his tardiness.
Oh my God, you had to point it out again. Okay, perfect. All right. I think the first goal is a lot more important to Inter Miami than it is to Vancouver. For some reason, my teams are never favorites, so I'm very against my team in particular in this situation scoring the first goal early on, because that usually leads to more defending than attacking, and then the idea that the plan that you have for the game goes out of the window. I think it's important for Inter Miami to settle down, score that first goal, and then after that, wait and react to what Vancouver's gonna, bring to the table when it comes to being an attacking-minded team. For Vancouver, I think they can survive if they concede 2 goals early in the first half. In particular, I think Vancouver will be comfortable. Even if they're down a goal, they can still believe in the second half that they can tie the game and extend the game. I think this is a situation where, for Vancouver, they need to have a plan as to, okay, the game is scoreless, and what we do if for some reason we concede early, which is something that can very easily happen. Again, you're playing on the road, and I think that should be a factor. It depends on Inter Miami whether they make them pay for playing on the road or not.
Simon.
Yeah, I don't think it would massively impact the Whitecaps' game plan. I mean, because you say they have to do more than be on the transition and the counterattack, but that's basically how they play at home as well, right? I mean, they play down the flanks at speed. They like to take on the opposition's fullback and get at them that way. They're not going to change the way they're going to play just because they concede an early goal. So I don't think it changes a great deal. I mean, clearly, the longer the game goes on, if you're trailing, you need to commit more men forward and so on and so forth. But I don't think it's going to be a massive. I mean, it's a big advantage to get that first goal. It goes without saying, but I don't think it totally will throw Vancouver Whitecaps game plan out the window.
They might be used to playing like that at home, but they normally don't play one Lionel Messi and co at home. Right, and Messi with space in front of him, we know how dangerous it can be. Although he's playing as a false 9, so maybe he won't be picking up the ball in the same type of areas that we've been used to seeing him when Inter Miami then wants to hit on their transitions. With regards to Messi in that false 9 role, you guys touched on Inter Miami, especially you, Simon, about them having not just more energetic legs, but also skill. And Silvetti's, he's got some skill there in the attack. But in this new system that Mascherano has gone with, the 4-3-3, Inter Miami, at least in my opinion, has become more of an MLS type team. They have become a more modern version of soccer, of football type of team. Whereas before, they wanted to be that possession-based team that built through Messi and created chances that way. But the knock on them all year from between comments early in the season from Julian Gressel, Vancouver Whitecaps, was that they didn't have the legs, that they didn't have the ability to cover ground, and physically they were outmatched. Well, now in this 4-3-3 with Messi as the focal point of the front line, with Silvetti and Allende alongside him, you've got much more energetic legs to high press, to track back, to win balls. You've got Rodrigo De Paul in a more simplified position as opposed to playing out wide. And you have Baltasar Rodriguez, who also brings in some energy. So they've become a more MLS type team while still having the quality, the Latin American quality, the South American quality, the Argentinian quality that maybe differentiates them from most other teams. How does the Vancouver Whitecaps, how do they deal with that defensively on Saturday? Because we've been to a lot of MLS Cup games. It's a big tactical battle. But sometimes you see that the home team and the favorite team, we've seen it with the LA Galaxy, sometimes they just blow the door wide open once the other team has to come out and push. So how does Vancouver deal with all of that? How do they handle that while also not throwing themselves, parking the bus, and hoping for a counterattack goal?
I think look, it's difficult because that attack has looked really, really good for the last 3 games, right? I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. The goals tally shows that. And I think it's really interesting to watch this Inter Miami team now, because I think Messi's, he had a relatively quiet game against
Correct.
New York City. If you look at his stats, he wasn't massively involved in stuff. But does it slightly sacrifice him in order to get that speed and directness up front? I think it perhaps does. If it is a tighter game in midfield, Messi will probably be more involved. I mean, false 9 or number 10, however you want to describe it, he's definitely playing deeper, but it's effective. I think for Vancouver, the difficulty they're going to look, they'll be better than New York City were at dealing with the long ball, right? I mean, their defending was shocking at times. I mean,
two long balls undid them. Two long balls undid them for the first 2 goals.
And I don't think they'll be as vulnerable on the counter attack, but the long balls, can be effective against decent defenses, especially when you got people like Busquets delivering it or Jordi Alba. So, there's a good range of threats there from Inter Miami. I think they're more multidimensional now than they were before. I think it was so established what it was, but I mean, to be completely honest, it just speeds it up a bit not having Suarez out there as well, doesn't it? I mean, he did. Yeah. It's now evident how much he slowed the game down. And I'm glad you mentioned Baltasar Rodriguez as well, because I think he's actually brought quite a lot to that midfield, just buzzing around. But Jose, go ahead. Yeah,
Jose and I talked about that. We talked about the spark that he brings, the feistiness that he brings to that midfield. Before Jose goes, I just want to read this comment from Cuervo Miami. Says, "Hi, this Inter Miami team is very different from the one from the CONCACAF Champions Cup semis. Vancouver Whitecaps is the same plus Muller. They don't have Vite, though. They don't have Vite though." Christian Gonzalez 1043 says Vancouver is scary. A lot of first-time commenters here. Sub V 1089 says Vancouver just too good. And
that's true about Vite, but Kubas has filled that role really well for them.
Yeah,
that's true. Graciela Beatriz Medina says Messi el mejor, el único, which would translate for those of you that don't speak Spanish or understand Spanish, but I'm pretty sure you can figure that out. Says Messi's the best and the unique one, the special one.
The one and only.
The one and only. There you go. Good job. Simon's a better translator than I am. Jose, my friend. Go ahead. What were you
Yeah,
going to say
no,
about the Vancouver defensively?
yeah, no, I just think it's a little bit harder to figure out into Miami now because there's just not enough of a sample size of what this Inter Miami team is without Luis Suarez. There is an idea of what we've seen against Nashville, Cincy, and now against New York, but still, I think they have some wrinkles, that they can go around, and I think it's going to be hard for teams to figure out this quickly. But I'm sure Vancouver has done the homework. Now, I want to point out to something that caught my attention during the game over the week, and it was that we haven't seen that all about Messi mentality as we saw it early in the season. And what I mean by that, Jordi Alba now, when he takes the ball on the left, he doesn't necessarily looks for Messi all the time. He looks for Baltasar at times. Now he looks for Allende to bring the cross in, and we saw it, and it resulted in a goal. Previously, it was Jordi Alba takes the ball on the left, immediately looks for Messi. It doesn't matter where he is on the field, and shockingly, he was always able to find him. But that connection was only a one-way situation. Jordi to Messi, actually two-way because Messi sometimes gave it back to Jordi. And then the same goes for Busi. Now, if you eliminate that equation and you know that Busi is going to look initially for Messi, but he's going to trust also Rodrigo de Paul, and he's going to trust, whoever playing a right back is making that run on the right side. Remember the ball from Busi to Allende again. Allende making a beautiful run, and then Busi looks for him. So I think that's the challenge. They're more dynamic now. They have fresher legs, and the added factor is that your best players are not only looking for one guy. They're not only looking for 10. So they're making better Silvetti, and they're making better Tadeo Allende, and they're making a better player from Baltasar Rodriguez. So I think that's where everything comes together for Inter Miami. And listen, we kind of have to give credit to Mascherano.
Yeah.
Or maybe Andy Najar, who knows? Or Nashville.
And you missed it. And that's what I said. Jose, maybe you can come up with the term. I don't want to call it good luck because I know where you're going. We talked about this earlier. I don't know what to call it. Good, just fate, or because if Nashville doesn't make that claim, si no hacen el reclamo, right, Luis Suarez never comes out of the starting lineup. And we're not here talking about Inter Miami winning 3 games by 4-goal margins. I mean, I doubt it. I doubt we'd be here with at least that.
Well, some things are just meant to be, man. I mean, that's it. It was something that everybody on the outside talked about. I mean, I'm sure you both talked about or thought about what is this team going to do if Suarez continues to play and struggle. Are they capable of winning this way? I don't know that we all expected this. I think everybody expected Inter Miami to be better without Suarez, but not this good. I mean, the way they are, performing, even with the New York City game not being amazing, or I think it was a good game, but it wasn't better than Cincy. I think it's good performances.
The first 60, 65 minutes against New York City FC weren't the best, weren't the brightest, right? They took their chances well. They took both of his chances well. They gave up a goal.
The Rocco Rios Nova save is big, man. It's big. It's big. That's huge.
But think about this. Think about that. That was the one big save he had to make in that game.
Just one, yeah.
Right? And then if you look at the Cincinnati game, they win 4-0. The game before that, they beat Nashville. They win 4-0. And I can't recall off the top of my head too many big saves for Rocco Rios Novo in either of those 2 games. Maybe one here or there, but not a lot. The defense has also improved tremendously. Not just by numbers, but at least from the eye test. Is it just a matter of having energetic legs, being able to press in a different manner? Is that just what it's come down to? Also, I touched on Rodrigo de Paul instead of being a right midfielder with Busquets and maybe Yannick Bright in the middle. Now he's more central, playing more of a natural position. Is it just come down to the personnel, or is there something else they've done defensively to tweak things?
I think it's liberated quite a few players, as you're suggesting there.
Yeah.
And actually, I think DePaul a lot as well, because for until relatively recently, I was looking at DePaul and thinking is he making the impact you would expect a Champions League level player to make in MLS? And I was thinking probably not. And now you start to see the DePaul we see for the Argentina national team, covering a lot of ground, making challenges, getting into spaces, recovery work, that he's very good at doing. And with Baltazar doing that on the other side, and then Busquets in the middle, it holds together quite well. But defensively, I mean, I think, Mascherano was saying in his press conference about Falcon having grown and improved and developed throughout this season, and I think he has. I mean, he's not really under. I mean, there was a while when he was rotating around those positions in the defense. He wasn't sure. Now there's no doubt who he's playing
clear.
there. Yeah, and I think when a player does that, when they establish that position for themselves, A, they've had to do something to get into that position to make it their own, and B, it gives them a confidence and solidity to know that I am now the main guy at this back. We're not going to be turning into Toto Avalos or Luan or other players.
Think about that. A lot of the season, center back was a revolving door.
Yeah.
Lujan, Toto Aviles, Noah Allen, Maximiliano Falcon, David Martinez, when he was here. And now you know who the center back tandem is. It's Peluca Falcon and Noah Allen. You touched on this earlier. I think it was you, Simon. Who do they go with at right back on Saturday? Is it Ian Frey or is it Chelo Weigand? As our friend Alonso Contreras likes to say, El Chelo Wenga. Who do you think goes from the start, and who would you pick? So give me both answers. We start with Jose.
Ian, 100%. I think it goes with Ian. I think Ian is a lot better with the ball. Can provide a lot more offensively. The fact that he came on for 30 minutes, was it? Yeah, I think it came on in the 60th minute mark. I don't know if the mental side of the game, I think they're both pretty emotional, but I think Chelo can get him out of the game a lot easier like they did in the last game. So I play Ian. If I'm fighting for a title, I play Ian, which, by the way, could be his last game for Inter Miami.
So you think Mascherano goes with him, and you would go with him?
Yeah.
Simon.
I would also go with Ian Frey, but I think he'll go with Chelo.
Why do you think he will go with Chelo?
I think that will be...
Ian Frey has... Sorry, before you answer. Ian Frey has been dealing with a knock as of late that he picked up with Jamaica. That's why he didn't start in the most recent matches. He was recovering from that. Should be recovered if he was playing. Is he 90 minutes fit? That is something to take into account. I don't know if that's where you were headed with that, Simon, but I just wanted to mark that in case you didn't.
Well, clearly that's a question mark, isn't it? And if there's a question mark, I think that gives him an excuse to play Chelo. And I think that's a factor as well. I think, that he was part of a winning team, but also I think maybe it's just feels a little bit of a safer option, even though I don't think it is, to be honest, because I think Ian's very reliable, Ian Frey at right back, and I like him a lot as a player, but something just tells me that they'll start Chelo.
It is probably the one question mark with regards to Inter Miami starting lineup. The only question mark. I think if everything was on even terms, they were both healthy, they were both fit, both in form, I think he starts Ian Frey. Given the context of the last couple of games, Chelo hasn't been off the pace. I think Chelo gets the start. I think Chelo will have his hands full, more so than Ian Frey would, with the matchup. But I think Chelo gets the start. So I agree with you, Simon. I would start Ian Frey, though. I would start Ian Frey.
Yeah, we all would.
I feel like, this could be a situation similar to what he did coming into the first game of the Nashville series. Because if I'm not mistaken, before that series, it wasn't Noah Allen, the center back, that started regularly. Gonzalo Lujan was a big part of this team towards the end of the season, and then Mascherano felt like Noah Allen will fare better in the counterattack game against Nashville, and then the same against Cincy, and then he played him again against New York City, which I don't think that really applies to that game, because I think New York City, they're not as good in the counterattack. So I think he's not afraid of making the change and having Ian start. I think that's my thought process. I can see what you guys are saying, but that's why I'm thinking like he's not going to be afraid. This is not one of the Fantastic Five. It's hard to take them out of the lineup. Cello will come out of the lineup, and that wouldn't be a problem. Nobody would complain. So
he's been out of the lineup before, hasn't he? He's
right.
Been out,
yeah.
I'm going to straddle the fence and say that I honestly was going to say Ian Frey coming into the program. That's what my mind was. But then thinking about the last couple of weeks, even though he played in this last match, which indicates maybe he is ready to have a longer spell on the field, I think if there's questions about his health, or if he's coming off of something, it made me double think it, maybe second guess it. So I go with Simon's prediction for who starts. Not that I would agree that it should be him. Let's listen quickly to Javier Mascherano from this weekend, talking about the state of the team, and then we will pick up from there, because we have to talk about Tadeo Allende before we wrap up this second episode of the week, and whether he should be back next season. But let's listen to Mascherano first.
Trabajar como equipo. Defendemos como equipo, atacamos como equipo. Al final hemos entendido que necesitamos de un equipo para hacer ambas fases del juego. Desde atrás, para tener valentía nuestros centrales, nuestros medios, nuestros laterales, para sacarle la pelota de la mejor manera, para que a los jugadores de ataque les llegue de la mejor manera y encontremos a ellos en situaciones favorables. Y defensivamente, que nuestros delanteros sean los primeros defensores y presionar, y así los medios, y también la valentía de la línea defensiva, de muchas veces salir fuera de posición a ganar duelos. Creo que tiene que ver con entender esto como un equipo. Es el equipo lo que nos ha llevado a llegar hasta acá, y digamos, de ahí es donde no podemos salir. Es decir, nosotros tenemos que seguir con esa mentalidad de tratar de seguir funcionando como equipo, que es lo que realmente nos va a sostener, y sobre todo lo que nos va a dar la posibilidad de poder competir de la mejor manera el sábado.
Simon, you are our resident translator now, so have at it.
Not that one.
More or less, he said that they're playing well on both sides. They're a collective team. He talked about the defense, the ability to press, the ability to defend out of position when necessary, and that this has to be the way moving forward. They have to continue to play as a team and function as a team. That's what will give them the best chances on Saturday against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Another player that will help Inter Miami's chances is Tadeo Allende, the leading scorer, surprisingly, for Inter Miami in these playoffs. He has 8 tallies so far, 2 more than Lionel Messi, if I'm not mistaken.
Which equals the MLS postseason record as well.
There you go. Simon dropping wisdom on all of us.
Who held the record before?
Oof.
Pescadito Ruiz, Carlos Pescadito Ruiz with LA Galaxy, 2002.
There you go. Look at that.
Am I right, Simon?
I don't know the year, but the right player. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Well done.
Well done, guys. I asked this yesterday. I talked about this yesterday, and then I posed the question on Twitter today. And the answer for many people is yes. But I don't think that there is the full understanding of behind why it's not as straightforward as just a yes. I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because I haven't really gotten a chance to talk to you about the subject. And I know this is more of an off-season question, which is probably better served for after this weekend. But still, these decisions start to get made before the final games are played. And that's Tadeo Allende. Should he come back next year? He is on loan from Celta de Vigo in Spain. To bring him back, you probably will have to pay a transfer fee. If you pay a transfer fee, unless you get a really good deal, that will probably make him a DP, especially given the amount of goals he scored this year and how well he's finishing out 2025. So the question isn't, would you bring back Tadeo Allende? Because most people will just say, yes, absolutely. The question is, would you bring back Tadeo Allende if he costs you a DP slot? Right now, we only know that there will be 3. If they expand it to 4 next year before the season, then that's a different story. But right now, going off the premise that they only have 3, Inter Miami should have 1 available, right? Because Messi will occupy 1, Rodrigo de Paul officially will occupy 1, who's also on loan or whatever.
Loan.
Yeah. Tadeo Allende, do you bring him back as and I want to know what the listeners, the viewers think as well. If you can only bring back Tadeo Allende as a DP next year, do you do it? I'm going to start with Simon Evans.
It is a difficult one, isn't it? Because if you'd have asked that question 6 weeks ago and said Tadeo Allende a DP, he wasn't even a guaranteed starter in a lot of people's minds. So it's a rapid transformation to go from being a guy whose place in the starting 11 was questionable to making him a designated player. But his form since the postseason began has been so good that it's a legitimate question, isn't it? I mean, those goals he scored at the weekend, that header was outstanding.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
And he looks like a designated player at the moment. You have to say he looks like a designated player. The truth will be, have they already organized who that designated player is going to be or not, right? I don't believe the left back will be a designated player because it's going to be Region, and I don't think he's a designated player. I think he can come in on one of those levels below a DP, high earning.
There's been talk about Kai Wagner as well from the Philadelphia Union.
Right. It may be that they'd already made plans that they can't get out of, and it's going to be very hard to manufacture a situation where they can keep him without him being a designated player. It's a really tricky one. He's put himself in a position now that if they don't, he probably would be able to get a DP contract in MLS somewhere else.
Well, he's probably going to have foreign interest. There's been links of him to River Plate. He'll have options, right? So if
he's
Inter Miami,
24, I think.
Sounds about right. Let me check.
So I'm fudging. I'm not able to just.
Yeah, you're not giving me an answer, by the way.
No, I'm not. It's
26. He's 26. 26.
26.
Born in 99. He's a 99. 99. But no. Well, Simon thinks,
because when you talk about designated players, right, and you've already got. One would assume Rodrigo de Paul, and if his loan was turned into a permanent move, and then you have. So, are you giving me a yellow card for not giving you a straight answer?
Yes, I'm giving you a yellow card for not giving me.
You can't give a straight answer to a DP
Don't
question.
talk back to the ref. Don't talk back to.
because you can't give a straight answer to it because you don't know what the other options would be.
But I'm asking you what you would do if you are the head of the table there for Inter Miami, Simon. Do you bring him back as a DP? Do you do it? Do you say yes?
Yeah,
you would do it. Okay, Jose, would you do it if you're at the head of the table? If you were Messi's appointed sporting director or general manager, and you're sitting there with Javier Mascherano, and you're sitting there with Jorge Mas, and you're contemplating the plan and mapping it all out for 2026 and beyond, do you make the decision to bring Tadeo Allende back from a sporting aspect as a DP in 2026?
No. 100% no. No way. Inter Miami's DPs, they need to be flashy. They need to be not overpaid like Rodrigo de Paul, but they need to have a name. They need to, other than perform and score and be good on the field, they need to be flashy. And Tadeo Allende is not flashy. He's not selling jerseys. So, no. And look, it's been a good season for him. But there's a reason why it was a loan and they didn't elect to buy him. I think Celta obviously has the upper hand here. They're going to get plenty of offers. I don't think they need him in particular. I think it's good for the MLS level, and he can be a DP in MLS for Philly, even though they won the Supporter Shield, for Colorado Rapids, Rio Salt Lake. There's so many other teams that he can be a DP, but he cannot be a DP in Inter Miami. So I would say no.
No.
That's a well-argued case, I have to say. Yeah.
I am of the line of thinking of Jose on this one, and I actually just let you guys answer first, so that I could just take all your good content. No, but I do agree with Jose. I think, look, Tayo Allende's had a good season on the overall scale of things. He's clearly been freed up and found his best form when they made the formation change, and they were able to maybe play more to his strengths. Where he can stretch the back line and just make those runs in behind. He has scored goals this year, right? We've seen him score goals. We've also seen him miss a lot. And that has to be taken into consideration on the balance of everything as well. Because you know what you're going to get. The last image can't be the only image of Tayo Allende in 2025. Because when you're analyzing it from a total picture, he's been hot and cold. And if you have to make him
most,
he's been hot when he matters most. But if in a regular season you're not going to get hot Tayo Allende, which you probably won't get hot Tayo Allende consistently, then it's probably not worth taking that gamble. In my opinion, I don't think that they will. If it comes down to being DP money, I wouldn't do it if I was making the decision. I think you can probably find someone for DP money who is more of a proven difference maker. Now, you can, of course, argue stylistically losing Tayo Allende could hurt because you need to find someone with wheels, with energy, with the work rate, etc. All those things. Those things definitely come into play. But if we're talking DP money, you can find someone better.
Would Leonardo Campana be as effective in that system they're playing now? If the decision, if they'd have been playing Campana instead of Allende in the playoffs, would he be as effective? I don't think so.
On the wing, no.
He's not the type of player to stretch the back line and get in behind.
No, doesn't have the pace, the pressing.
No.
He might have scored that header. He was good at that kind of thing, but
yeah.
But
and by the way,
85 says Simon knew he made a mistake, huh?
I didn't even want to answer the question, so
this is why you got yellow carded, my friend. This is why you got yellow carded.
I think I asked him a couple of times already in the last few months about his future, and he obviously gives the obvious answer of I want to stay, but he's not like, I want to stay 100%. No matter what, this is where I want to be. I think he knows he's in a very good situation where he's going to have options. And, at the end of the day, I think he's also looking for a place where he can just, establish himself, because, another loan it shouldn't be an option at this point for him. Right. When you score 23 goals in a season, you can't take another option, whether, Celta has to sell him to some other place or find a way to, settle down someplace. I think he deserves that, by the way.
Mike V says, if I'm Miami, I buy him and sell him. If they have an option for him, that is reasonable, and his value has gone up. Rico de la Vega 4511, I think it's the first time Rico comments, says, I suspect Tam will rise dramatically to over 2 million, which is what Allende is worth. So yes, but as a DP, nope. Gus _1072.
That's kind of where my position would have been if that was an option.
You're stealing the content now of the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah.
Gus _1072 says only people with short memory can consider Allende a DP. We'll see.
Good debate, though. It's a good debate.
It is a good debate, and we'll have more of it, I'm sure, once the off season arrives. There are more topics to talk about, but we're going to just start to wrap it up with one about Lionel Messi and the MVP award.
Here we go.
We are accustomed, those of us that have covered MLS Cups before, that during MLS Cup week, the MVP award is announced. That is normally the tradition. And normally it's not one of the players on one of the finalists Sometimes it's players that are not on one of the finalists and they appear in market and they do an interview, press conference, whatever. Well, we know last year Messi forewent tradition, didn't do a press conference at all, not even during MLS Cup. We just didn't do one at all and just kind of did his own thing with Don Garber and Inter Miami's academy kids. We know, or we think, or we strongly believe that Messi will win the MLS MVP for the second consecutive season. The MLS schedule for this cup final has come out today, and nowhere on there is there anything about an MLS MVP press conference, which points to that announcement not being made before Cup. It will probably be made after Cup, which probably for MLS is not what they would prefer, because obviously you would probably want to do it beforehand to capitalize on the moment, because if Inter Miami loses on Saturday or draws and falls on penalty kicks, then that kind of takes some shine off of the announcement, if it is Messi, which again we believe it will be. Messi probably will not speak again in a press conference setting when the MVP is announced. Jose, what do you make of that?
Well, I have some inside information that I can share with you right now. It's Dennis Buanga who won the MVP. No, I'm just kidding. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, I look at this point. I can expect. I don't. I have no expectations about Messi's media availability. So I won't be shocked if they do the same, another video, and I won't be shocked if they do a press conference. At this point, it feels like whatever he's comfortable with, then the league will be okay with it. I think Don Garber said it to me in my face that he wants to make this league someplace where Messi feels comfortable. So I guess it's up to him. So
proud. He said proud. Simon, what do you make of it? Because juxtaposition on the other side, and I know that their stars are not in the same orbit, but Thomas Mueller for the Vancouver Whitecaps has done media. He did media after the Western Conference.
He was
final.
practically like a late night talk show guest after the Western Conference final. Yeah.
So what do you make? What do you make of Messi, who again we all think will be the MVP, not speaking yet again?
I wouldn't shock me if they do the MVP award on the field like they did with the Golden Boot thing.
But so what are they going to do? They're going to do it before the game? Because after the game, you have the MLS.
No, before the game. Before the
MVP.
game, they announce Lionel Messi MVP of MLS, and he goes on the field, shakes hands with Don Garber, gets given it, and raises the Landon Donovan Most Valuable Player trophy to the crowd, and then gets on with preparing for the game.
That seems like the trophy itself gets largely overshadowed by the game itself. It doesn't seem that it is worth the prestige of the Landon Donovan MLS MVP award, because then there's an MLS Cup Final MVP given after the game, which we get to vote on up in the press box. It's disappointing. It's more. I'm not going to bang the same drum for too long, but it's disappointing that this is the route that's taken. I'm curious if he speaks after the game if they win.
So I have a question about that, by the way. Does everybody in the press box vote, or is it like a select group?
No, everybody gets a little piece of everybody that's credentialed.
Messi already won it then, because
I asked Jose
so many
jokingly,
Messi fans that will be you typically go to the games.
I jokingly asked Jose over the Eastern Conference Final. I was like, "Is Messi, no matter what happens, the MVP for the MLS Cup Final if they win?"
I mean, it's pretty clear.
To be fair, the media that normally attends the home games for Inter Miami, it's not going to be the same media corps. From
right, yeah,
what
if
I've gathered,
then maybe.
From what I've gathered, because again, there's a lot of interest nationally, not only from soccer outlets, but outlets here in the U.S. Some of the local people will not be in attendance. There's just not enough space for everybody. So some national media will fill a lot of those seats as well. So maybe it'll be more balanced. Maybe it'll be more professional. We'll see. I'm just curious.
Unprofessional. I
mean,
didn't
it's
go
true.
that far,
It's
but
true,
yeah,
though. It's
I'm on
true.
that
I mean,
boat.
it's.
I didn't want to say it, but
Come on, man. We got to call a spade here. This show is about being honest. My name is Franco. Like Franco equals Frank. It's how it is, brother. It's how it is. You can't. You said there. Hey, listen. You said there's fans in there. I might as well have just said it outright, Jose.
I have no idea what either of you are talking about here.
All right. Prediction time for you boys, and we'll wrap up the show.
My Messi prediction is he will do a pre-game interview with Apple and Fox. I would be surprised if he doesn't. Even though he doesn't, I don't think he wants to do a press conference with 100 people shouting at him. I think if he's asked to hype up the final a little bit by doing a 2-minute interview with Fox and Apple TV, he'll probably do it.
Henry Potter Free Speech says Franco dictator. Jake-H2S says, why would Messi talk to the media? We already know that's not him. Simon, who wins on Saturday?
Inter Miami will win the MLS Cup, and I think they will win it 3-1.
3-1. Jose, give us your prediction.
I think it's going to be a long day. We go to penalties, and Inter Miami prevails. They win.
So it'll be a draw with Inter Miami prevailing on penalty kicks. I've already said that I think Inter Miami wins. I haven't put out a score. I'll leave that for later in the week. You know, what, you want to yellow card me now? That face, you want to yellow card me so bad. 4-2. 4-2.
4-2 is a good prediction, actually. Yeah, no, I think
close.
it could be that guy. I'm saying 3-1, but it could easily be 3-2 or 3-3 and pens. It's going to be a really good one. Honestly, I really think it's a good one.
Yeah.
It would have been good with San Diego as well because they were great on the road, unmatched record on the road this season in MLS. But the Whitecaps with Muller there as well, I hope he's fully fit, and they can give a really good game, because I think as well for MLS, there's a lot of talk about this being a big moment for MLS. The game's on Fox, a chance for them to capture some attention with Messi and stuff. Watching Messi having to really fight to win an MLS Cup against a good team with like an American midfielder who's emerging as a national team star and all that kind of thing, that's great. That's what the public wants to see. Inter Miami cruising to a 3 or 4-0 win with Messi looking way better than anybody else on the field is not the great advertisement for MLS that we'd like to see. So I think it's going to be a great final, and I think it's perfect final in a lot of ways. It
is a great final for MLS,
and it is on Big Fox, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that's huge. For how things were with this league with Apple and all the deals or news that we got late in the season. I think you're 100% right, Simon. I think this is a huge game for MLS, especially leading into next year and with the World Cup draw, so close to it. I mean, it's big.
MLS Cups are very memorable, at least to me. Every single one I've been to, I still have vivid memories and flashes of them, just because you feel how much it means in the stands. You feel the importance of every play, of the goals, the excitement. You can feel it. So I'm sure whether you're in the stadium like us or watching from home, you'll remember this one, regardless of the final result. Gamer Class says 3-2 Inter Miami. Boss Daddy says, first game, driving down from Orlando. I don't want to be crying sad tears on the way home. Only happy tears. Mike V says, Miami 3-1. Messi, Silvetti, and Allende score. White scores for Vancouver.
Good detailed prediction, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, all right. We didn't get to talk about Inter Miami throwing their weight around and in terms of refereeing, which they tend to do often, and we saw it against New York City FC. But we'll leave that for later in the week, because Miami Total Football Radio has at least 2 more episodes, maybe 3. Trying to get one every day. I know that the draw is on Friday, and that could complicate things. It is early, but
time, isn't it? It's in the day.
Schedules get complicated with y'all. I mean, I could do it by myself. That's no problem. But we'll see. We'll see how the week plays out. But definitely Wednesday, definitely Thursday. I don't know if you guys will be back, but you guys are always welcome. But we'll see how things unfold. So we will leave it there. Both of you did very well to not get red carded, to not get muted for 1 minute. You guys got yellow cards and were well behaved the rest of the way. Any final thoughts you guys want to share before we close out the show?
I was checking, and I don't know if you guys did also. Do you think $500 is worth it for an MLS Cup? Because that was the cheapest that I found this afternoon after the pre-sale. Are you okay with those prices, or do you think it's a little bit over the top?
For what? For the best seat of the game or the cheapest seat?
Cheapest.
For the cheapest is probably a tad bit too high. Even though with Messi and everything, cheapest, if it's first market tickets, probably a little too expensive.
Small stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very small stadium. Yeah, I think that's the deal. And I've been getting a lot of questions about why don't they move this game to Hard Rock? And I honestly think Hard Rock is too big for Inter Miami. And I don't see 20,000. Yeah, I don't think it would sell out. I don't think Vancouver will bring 20,000 fans, which is close to what I think they would need to, fill that stadium up.
Stancy says there are tickets for below $300 right now. I did hear that.
Well, maybe resale.
I did hear this from somebody before the show started, is that the tickets were starting to drop. Prices were starting to drop. So
yeah, everything that is available. Yeah, everything that's available right now, it's resale. The everything is technically the game is sold out because there are no more tickets, at the regular price. Everything that's available is resale.
Simon, any final thoughts on your end about tickets or about anything else? Honduras not making the World Cup?
I don't want to go back over that topic, but it is a shame about the situation with the season ticket holders. I agree on that one, and the pushing that you can get a ticket by going into a season ticket for next season. I don't really like that either. Really,
yeah.
I think you reward the fans who've supported you through that season.
100%.
You don't use the final as an incentive for next season. But that's the way the modern business of the game.
Vice versa, you mean? You don't use next season as an incentive for the final.
Well, yeah.
It definitely makes fans and supporters feel more like customers. Which, look, at the end of the day, if you really want to say that that's what it is, because it's transactional relationship, sure. But there's supposed to be different layers to it, right?
It's going to be a problem for the future of this league,
Correct.
though. I think because the most of these stadiums have capped themselves at a size which has been prudent for the way that MLS has been for the last 10 years. Is 22,000, 24, 25,000 going to be big enough for most MLS teams in the next 10 years? I don't think it is. So, I'm surprised that some of the new grounds that are coming on are still going for that size, because you look at like St. Louis, for example, without going way off topic, but I think they regret making their stadium so small, because they could have sold 30,000 season tickets for their first season and so on. So MLS teams in the future are going to have to look at building bigger facilities or expanding the ones they've got as this league grows. But for the meantime, we're stuck with this size of stadium, and so we'll be stuck with very expensive tickets. And basically, you pay NBA kind of prices. That's what's going to be happening.
Right.
My girlfriend sent me a text message for me to remember to read discreetly, and it was when I say, give us a like, a share. She said, "Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit the belly button for more videos." So she meant the bell button, but she said belly button. So, so there's that. So there's
people are going. Wait, no, not working.
The Pillsbury Doughboy treatment. Woohoo! All right, yes, follow us, all of that good stuff. Thank you to Jose Armando, aka Anet Jose, aka Cinco, for joining us. Follow him for all the Inter Miami coverage during the course of the next few days, as we start to finally have some availability with Inter Miami. It begins tomorrow, although tomorrow's very, very light. Simon Evans will be there as well as the week goes on. Are either one of you going to DC for the draw?
No. I'll be at Inter Miami training.
Likewise. I think I probably will be as well. Yeah, I've been to World Cup draws before.
Apparently, that's where all the MLS parties and the events are happening. There's not happening here in South Florida, unfortunately. So Jose,
By the way, we should ask that question. Was somebody said, is there going to be a parade if Inter Miami win? That was
yeah,
a
someone
question.
did ask that.
Yeah.
Hey, Simon, if you want to
good
keep going, we can go another half hour if you like. But then,
No.
but then
no,
Simon's like, "Come on, man!" Simon gives me like the evil eye.
No, my question was, where would you have the parade, right? Because the Florida Panthers had their parade at Las Olas, you know? Because they're a Fort
Right.
Lauderdale Broward team, right? Where would Inter Miami actually have its parade?
I think you'll go around Chase Stadium. That would be it. Just circles.
Yeah.
Go around 3 times, and that's it. That's your
Go to the Wendy's on one corner and then back to the
Yes,
McDonald's on commercial.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
It's a good question. I mean, ideally, you would think they'd have it in Miami, but logistically, could they pull that off? Do they have, the ability to pull that off? I don't know. But all right, we will leave it there. So once again, for Jose Armando, or Simon Evans, aka Simon Dice, or Simon Dice, I am Franco Penizo. You have been listening to a very special Tuesday episode of Miami Total Football Radio. The show will be back tomorrow, yet again, to continue to dive deep into Inter Miami's MLS Cup Final against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for following along.